Why, hello, lovely internet people. It's Kit the Goddess once again, back with yet another Let's Talk About video to hold the time over until I'm able to make another proper one. I promise I'll try not to keep the wait too long, but as of now, I'm still working at summer camp for another 3 weeks as of the recording of this, so it'll still be a while before I can make a proper video again. But in the meantime, you get to listen to all of my unscripted rambling about Sonic Origins Plus, which is a heck of a thing. It's a thing, and it exists. Let's talk about it. So Sonic Origins, of course, released last year. I'm sure you all know about it. A collection of the first 4 Sonic games in the main line, Sonic 1 through 3 and Knuckles, plus Sonic CD. And there was a lot of controversy when this first came out, just because, there was, because first off, the original 3 versions, the versions of Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Sonic CD are all the Christian Whitehead remasters. The Sonic CD one, which had already been on consoles for 10 years at the point, and the Sonic 1 and 2 ones, which were the mobile versions, and they were just being released on console officially for the first time. So it's not really new content per se, it's just 2 of them you can play on a new platform that's not a mobile phone now, which is great. But, of course, then most of the controversy came with the Sonic 3 and Knuckles remaster for two particular reasons. First of which being the replaced music, because of course, Sonic fans can't have nice things, and once everybody knew that Michael Jackson composed for the games, well, the rights about whether the songs for it belonged to Sega or Michael Jackson's estate got a little bit iffy, and Sega had to, not only, they didn't re-release Sonic 3 and Knuckles for a good 10 years there. For a while, the only way you could get it on, a modern platform was Steam, and I think the last time it had been released was, on the Xbox 360 and PS3 stores, and that might have even been taken down at some point, if I'm remembering correctly, actually. But, then, yeah, but this is the first time they re-released it, but they had to make some new songs, and I believe they said they got Jun Senoue to do it, but I love Jun Senoue, great artist for the series, but his chiptune stuff leaves a lot to be desired, and that was such the case for some of the music here, because it was apparently they were redoing some of the beta tracks from before Michael Jackson got involved with the original Sonic 3, particularly for Carnival Night, Ice Cap Zone, and Launch Base, but just the way that Jun Senoue does his chiptune stuff, they changed a lot of the instrumentation, and that upset a lot of people. I didn't have much of a problem with it, but I did, except for Launch Base Zone. They, completely tortured Launch Base Zone, but then again, also Launch Base Zone, the beta versions already kind of sucked. So, but Carnival Night, honestly, I think I prefer these versions of Carnival Night, Act 1 and 2 beta, but Ice Cap, just completely changes the tone of the entire level. Whereas, the Michael Jackson / I forget his sound engineer, Brad Buxer, that was his name, Brad Buxer. But his version of Ice Cap made the stage feel so, mysterious and everything. Whereas this version feels oh look, it's a generic ice level. We're going for a little jaunt down the mountain. But, so unfortunately that happened. But then most of the controversy actually came from the fact that the Sonic 3 and Knuckles remaster done by Headcanon was unfinished, because there was a lot of bugs and such that were not present in the original release of the game, which really sucks, There was a lot of stuff like that, but also, I personally, this is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, but I really did not run into too many bugs when I was playing. There was the minor, just the occasional minor visual bug where it's oh, if you're getting shot out of the cannons in Oil Ocean or whatever, your character just won't rotate for some reason. Or in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, well, that was actually a Sonic 2 bug, but with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, there would be oh, the music doesn't speed up during Blue Sphere, which did mess me up a few times, but most of those bugs got fixed except for Amy, because apparently if you hammer drop with Amy in the in Oil Ocean, it still does the glitch. But honestly, I never ran into anything super game breaking. I did see occasional bugs, but it's it really seems like the kind of stuff you have to go out of your way to encounter. And I really don't think it's as big of an issue as a lot of people made it out to be. Don't get me wrong, I do think that Sega should have given the developers more time, and no deadline is worth rushing out an unfinished project. But I also think that the bugs that are present in the game are in no way severe enough to make the game somehow inferior to any other re-release of the game. It's just, it had some bugs when it came out. Oh well, they're not game breaking, they're not major. they're not going to dampen your experience other than very slightly, and the major ones have already mostly been patched out from what I understand. Because, like, I played through all of the games when Sonic Origins first came out last year as every single character to 100% completion. So, like, I did every single mission, and I only ran into, like, one single soft lock when I was playing as Knuckles and I clipped through the wall, and I'm not even sure if that's an Origins-specific bug or if that's just a Sonic 3 bug. So, who knows at that point, honestly, but I think that the whole bugs and glitches thing is super overblown. But I do have a lot more issues with Sonic Origins, and that is the price. So if I'm remembering correctly, so when Sonic Origins first released, it was priced at $40, I think, which is ridiculous, especially if you consider that three of these games, Christian Whitehead Sonic CD, Christian Whitehead Sonic 1, and Christian Whitehead Sonic 2, are all free with ads on mobile. And so you're basically expecting me to pay $10 for every one of them, plus $10 for Sonic 3 and Knuckles all at once. And if I remember correctly, like, Christian Whitehead Sonic CD wasn't even, like, when it was delisted from Steam, it was only, like, $5, I think, which is, like, you mean to tell me that you're going to charge $10 for every one of these games individually that has been sold for far less than that in the past, a lot? Yeah, that's not very smart on your part, Sega, but, like, they knew people would buy it, and I mean, we did, so, like, we kind of fed into that, but, like, it is ridiculous, especially considering Sonic Mania only cost, what, $20 when it first came out? And that's a game that is about the exact same length as Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but was also a brand new title and has a lot more features. Whereas Sonic Origins has a mission mode, it has story mode, the cutscenes, the animated cutscenes are gorgeous, but what else does it add? Nothing. Oh, unless you buy the $10 DLC, which comes with the physical version, but not with the physical version. You have to type a download code, though they could very easily put that on the game card, but they just chose not to. Like, I think they misunderstood the reason that Sonic Mania Plus existed, and they were like, oh, I see what we can do here. We can add DLC and call Sonic Origins Plus or we can make DLC for Sonic Origins and re-release it a year later and call it Sonic Origins Plus. But, like, no, the only reason Sonic Mania had DLC in the first place is because when it got the physical version, they needed to add more content, in their mind at least, the way they thought, to justify the physical version costing more because of manufacturing costs. Like, that was the reality of the situation, and even then, the physical version cost more than the DLC did digitally, so they threw an art book in. Like, it was a matter of making it worth the price induced by the manufacturing costs. And I think that was fine, but even now, Sonic Mania on its own, with all of its DLC, digitally at least, costs half as much as Sonic Origins Plus with its DLC. And the DLC for Sonic Origins Plus is cool. Well, there's a cool part of the DLC, and that's Amy being added as a playable character to all of the games, and I love the way she plays. She's fantastic. And then you can also play as Knuckles in Sonic CD, which should have, for the amount of money I'm paying for Sonic Origins, should have already been in Sonic Origins to begin with. But it's nice that it's there. And then, like, there's the 12 Game Gear games, but, like, it's nice that they're preserved, but at the same time, who plays the Game Gear games? Like, why aren't the masters? Like, a lot of people have pointed out, I'm just pretty much parroting what other people have said here, but, like, hey, why aren't the Master System versions here? Like, of Sonic 1 and 2 specifically, because those are vastly superior to the Game Gear versions, because the Game Gear ones have screen crunch, and the Master System ones don't. And then, like, it's nice that, like, Triple Trouble in here, but, like, the only ones I can imagine people really going to play on there is Triple Trouble and maybe Chaos. Like, I don't know. I just wish that some of the other games, that they'd put a little bit more thought into it. And again, for the price they were charging, this is content that should have been in the base game to begin with. And as DLC, it is severely overpriced, because all you're getting is the Game Gear games, which have all been sold for far less in the future, or have been just thrown in as little bonuses in previous collections, which were cheaper, by the way. And then there's, like, the fact that the original Sonic Origins release had DLC on its own, but, like, all that you got for the DLC were some extra songs for the music player, a few extra missions, 3 extra missions for each game. Wow, crazy. But such a big deal. And then Island Tour mode, which was touted as a big thing. It's not a big thing. I don't know why they touted it as a big thing. It's literally just the ability to zoom in on the menu islands, which are neat little menu islands, but, like, that's something that should have been in the base game. Why is that DLC? That's ridiculous. It's like, Sega recently has had a problem. They did this with Sonic Colors Ultimate when that came out. It's instead of making DLC that is worthwhile and a worthwhile addition to the game and worth the cost. They make DLC so they can say they had DLC, and they remove content from the base game that would have just been there otherwise. Like, if this was an era before DLC existed, I can guarantee the Game Gear games, the extra songs in the song player, those extra missions, all would have been in the game from the start and not have costed you any extra. But because we're in the era of DLC, Sega decided, oh, shiny, DLC, money. We need to have DLC in the game. And then you look at Atlas games, and like that's a whole mess where they re-release the same game 2 years later with a definitive version, costs the same price, you're not allowed to upgrade. And then each of those versions also has like $60 worth of DLC costumes and everything. Like, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, at this point, it just points to like a larger problem within corporate Sega, and that sucks. But honestly, with like Sonic Origins Plus, it's still a great way to experience all of the classic Sonic games. It's still, in for at least some of them, for CD 1 and 2, it's probably the best official way to experience those games. And for 3, I mean, you can play the, I'd say either the original version in one of the previous collections or on the actual Genesis, which I own, the Sonic 3 half. I need to get the Sonic and Knuckles half. But like either playing the original or this, they're just equally good. Whereas the Christian Whitehead versions of all the other games are just objectively superior. I think with the 3 and Knuckles one, it's up to personal preference, which whether you prefer it. I personally prefer the Genesis versions just because of the original music, and I think it makes it a lot better. But like, there's still a lot of merit to playing the Sonic 3 or the Sonic Origins versions, because like you have, like I said, Amy's playable if you have the DLC, which is awesome. Playable Amy is one of the best parts of the game, and then because like I love her moveset, and then of course there's just a bunch of general improvements that make the overall experience so much more fun. But yeah, all that said, I think that's going to be about it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. We have met the parameters for the YouTube Partner Program now that they lowered it, which is awesome. I can't wait to get started actually making money on here, at least a little bit. And subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. And hopefully, once Google decides to grant me AdSense access, because they've decided to keep it from me for no reason and refuse to tell me why, because that's YouTube for you. But we'll see how that goes. In any case, check out this video that my friends made. I'm in it. They built Five Nights at Freddy's 3 in their garage, and it's really cool. I'm in it. I'm Maddie. That's me right there. Whoa. But go check it out. It's great. Love you all. Thank you all so much for your support. And I will see you in a couple weeks with hopefully the last one of these. We'll see. All right. Bye-bye.